Hey guys, so you're probably wondering, what the hell am I doing? Sometimes I wonder that too. As you can see in front of me, I am draining all the oil out of the transmission as lazy as possible because we're going to mate the transmission up to the engine block I just got this week. Finally, been waiting since June, but it's done really good and it was a pretty damn good price. Um, we're going to do that temporarily because I want to build engine mounts and start on the transmission mount because the rear suspension, the two lower links on my 4-link setup, is going to go to the transmission mount. So the subframe and the rear suspension is all connected. So all the power goes through it instead of through the frame. The body mounts to the body and then to the rear axle where the suspension would be mounted to the body. So that won't be too terrible. I started to do this last night. I went to the store and bought the wrong bolts. Do not trust Google AI, it is garbage. Actually, do the research on forums and stuff. So I went to the hardware store and got the right bolts. I did get grade 8. I bought enough just to do it. I didn't buy them all because I do want to do at least the bell housing bolts with ARP, and the motor mounts, they can be grade 8 for the most part. I know I could probably do um, ARP, but I really don't think that I need to until they break or something like that. They are basically solid mounts with a rubber bushing in it, so it will be really rough. So I might have to do that eventually, but I'm not too worried about it right now. Let me show you what the plan is so I can just stop talking and do it. So my shop leaks. So that's I didn't think it goes back that far, but when it rains a lot, I guess it does. Anyway, so here's our freshly machined block, 30 over, line honed, decked, baked, magnaflowed, all that good stuff, right? Here are the engine mounts that I bought off Amazon, and they work pretty good, I think. Should be. Sorry, hard to see. But I might have to cut these to fit depending on the trans tunnel in the car. Because, like as you've seen, I replaced the floor, so don't really know how well that's gonna. I don't know how well that's gonna clear, but right there and there is where the mounts are gonna be. I have 1/8 inch plate. I'm gonna cut and drill the holes for, and I got these grade 8 bolts for that here, and then that plate in the car is going to be welded to those triangle pieces. But before we can do all that, I have to mount the mounts, flip this over, get the transmission over here or the motor over there, and get that mated to this temporarily. I got, I think, 2 bolts, which should be plenty because this is lighter than that, and if it breaks, well, I can fix it. I'm not worried about that. So we're gonna get started on that. I don't see why I can't do that because I mean there's still a bunch of stuff I can do, but this stuff here is going to take a good amount of time, but it's also very important. If I get this lined up exactly how I want it, then we can rip the rear end out, get the 4 9-inch in, order some axle shafts for it, and a disc brake kit, and then get a dry shaft built for it while we're doing all that. So then that's done. Then while that's doing, buying parts for this, buying parts for that, put it together, and going from there. So we got a lot of work ahead of us today. I'm going to try to do as much as I can this weekend, and then when I get paid, I'm ordering more parts. Just kind of how it goes. So let's get started and get some stuff bolted together. What's going on, everybody? It's another day. We are going to continue to try and get some motor mounts built. So I bought the wrong transmission. I think I mentioned that before. But I got the right one. The bell housing was different. I bought a 60 degree 700 R4. I needed a 90 degree. I didn't know there was a difference. Anyway, so we got it hanging up, draining oil right now. But before we can mate it up to the motor temporarily and set it in the car, I need to build some plates to go on the cross member so I can actually weld the mounts that I bought to it so it can actually be secure in the engine bay. So I'm going to figure out which holes are the correct ones because there's multiple in there. And then I need to find a plate. I need to drill out those holes and then drill out the holes on the plate because I bought a size. So I bought 7/16 bolts, but the shaft is bigger diameter from the hardware store than it is on these because this is automotive. 7/16, not a hardware store, I guess. I don't know. It just won't fit, so I got to drill them out. Not a big deal. So I got to do that and then go from there, I guess. So let's get started. Well, as you guys see, that it does fit, kind of. So I just made up those little plates right here, and um, I just roughly set the distributor in. I couldn't get in with the cap on, so I took it off, and it's hitting the firewall still. So, we got plenty of room. I mean, mountains of room up in the front. So I can move it forward, but then I'm going to be, if I move it forward too far, it's going to be hanging off of this cross member here on the side, right here. I don't know if you can see that, but I can only probably move it up about another 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm right on the edge of that plate. And I guess I could get some thicker steel and then let it overhang. I could do that. That is an option. But I think I'm just going to call it a day, do some thinking on it because I'm on the road again this week. So I do have to get ready for that. But now that I know that it looks pretty good in here and there's a little bit more room than I thought there was going to be. The heads stick out about that far maybe than the valve covers. intake, it's going to be, I think it's going to fit really good. Um, I'm going to get some help, get some more eyes, have Isaac come over here, and probably this weekend if we can, and just kind of mock it up and build some mounts modify these because these are way too tall, and the transmission mount. And then once the transmission mount is mounted where it's going to be, there's going to be some support steel they'll be putting in to make it really, really stout. Then after that, while we wait on parts, I can rip out the rear end of this thing and start mocking up the 4-link suspension. So, with that in mind, I'll see you guys this weekend. All right, y'all. So as you just seen, we built the cross member for the transmission. I bought the transmission mount from O'Reilly's. It's one of the energy saver ones or whatever they call it. But sorry, I'm out of breath. It's tired. Worked all day. But all the way across at where the transmission mount is 29 inches. So I built out of this tube, this rectangle tube, 2x4, I believe, or 1.5 inches. Yeah, roughly 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, I think. I got angle iron tacked to it, and that's where the mount goes to. And as I was measuring from side of the frame to center of the transmission to this side of the center of the transmission is a 1/4 inch off. Now I do have play in that mount, so I can work with that. But all I need to do now, I don't have any, unfortunately. I thought I had some. I need to get some angle iron that I'm going, some big stuff. I'm talking like maybe 3 by, how tall is that? 3 by 2. And I'm going to get a bunch of it because there's just a bunch of rust in this thing. But my initial thought is maybe, I don't know, a foot of it is going to be welded to this, and it's going to be bolted onto here from the side and the bottom. Yeah, I think I could do that. I'm going to show you a trick when it comes to it. And then that's how the transmission mount's going to go. I want to get this done first because wherever the engine ends up, this needs to be as center as possible for the axle back behind us. So I just need to go get some angle iron. I'll probably do tomorrow. I want to do 1/4 inch thick, if I'm being honest, because I need as much structure back into this subframe as possible. It is rusty, weight reduction, but we're gonna have to stiffen it up. And I'm gonna weld one side on over here. I'm going to weld it on here and bolt it on this side. And then it's going to be sandwiched together between it. So it's going to be super strong. Super, super strong. So if I do, that's 4, if I do 2 by 2, that should get me just about perfect. And then bolt it through here. And we're going to have a sleeve that goes down through this way. So it doesn't just pinch it, then bend it and stuff. It actually has rigidity to it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And yeah, and then we got a transmission mount. Good morning. It is Saturday. Last night you saw me get started on cutting the ears for the engine mounts, and I was cutting for a long time, and I didn't want to show you guys all of it. And then I kind of got in the groove and ended up just drilling the holes too. Not a big deal. I hate drilling holes. You don't need to see me do that. But I did get all 4 of them made and transferred over to there. Basically is where they're sitting now. It's kind of where they're going to be. But before I went to bed last night, I went underneath and I got the angle iron for the support of the subframe clamped into place, and then I measured and then cut. This is the transmission mount you saw we made earlier. I got it to fit, but the problem is that these holes need to be transferred to here and then cut and flipped. Basically, these holes are too close to this part of the angle iron, and with it being flipped upside down to where I originally had it, so it can actually be tucked up underneath the car pretty well. These are too close to here. Is hitting the rubber mount or the polyurethane or whatever that is. So basically, I'm going to use this same thing, and I'm just going to transfer the holes over to here, further out, flip it, tack it, bolt it up, center up the transmission tail housing. Yeah. And then we're going to Isaac's to use his welder to weld them all up because he's got 220 welder now. Very cool. And we might work on the Super 77 a little bit. Finish up that frame and all that stuff. I don't know what order these videos are coming out, so you might have already seen that, or you have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no idea. But we'll find out, I guess, together. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on this, and we're going to call it the beginning of a long weekend. All right, y'all. So I got it in there. This trans mount. I got this son bitch in there, right? And I got it exactly how I want. And I put it, and I went to go try to bolt it up, and the holes don't line up. That's how it was sitting in there, right? I was like, well, I can't have slotted holes because I want it to be stout. So I took this off after I got done cutting a new one to make some new holes. And I realized that if you look, this is flatter than this side. If I flip that over, it lines up perfect. So, moral of the story is, take it out when you're re-drilling the holes. And I know this wouldn't have worked anyway. It's way too close. The original holes, I mean. So look at your options. You know what I mean? Come on. Come on. I'm going to put the bolts in here before I slap it back in there just to make sure that they actually work because they are slightly oversized. Not by much, like literally the next bit up. I don't know what size it is. And it fit good before. I'm going to make sure it fits good outside of the car before I put it back in. Then, not really, I don't think it's necessary to show you guys this, but I am going to, once it's in there and bolted up, I'm going to loosen these bolts here and try to center it up a little bit more in the car because I know that this is centered in the car. So I know that that's going to work. I just want to get it as centered as possible. And then I'm going to tack this in place, take out the angle iron with this attached to it, and load it up in the truck. Then I'm going to take out the ears on the motor mounts, bevel those, clean them up, make them look good, bolt it back in there, tack it, take them out. Then, well, I guess at that point we go over to Isaac's and we buzz these in with some 7018 1/8 inch on a proper 220 welder. It's gonna be nice. Um, um, I'm doing 7018 because the 70 stands for 70,000 psi per square inch, I believe is square inch. But it's way stronger than what my little welder can do. And I know I use that welder for a lot of structural stuff in there, but because there's so much um, weld in the car, like the floor, for example, um, and the body is not just, or the floor is actually molded to what it's supposed to be, it's going to be strong enough. It's fine. It's got a roll cage in there to stiffen up the whole car. So I'm not worried about it. This, however, needs to be strong because this is where all the power is going to go through. So once I get that in there, do you mind? Um, Once I get that in there, I'm going to build some gussets, tack those in place, and we're out of here. All right, y'all, so just got done welding the gussets in for the trans mount. I used 7018 rod, and I didn't show it, but I did at Isaac's house. I did do a rut pass on the main connections with the 220 welder, so that's good. The rest of these are done with the Kicking Horse 110 out of Canada. Pretty good little welder, honestly. It ate up that 1/8 inch rod pretty good. I'm just letting it cool now, but we're going to go ahead and throw it in the car. And then how we're going to mount it to the car is I'm going to drill probably 4 holes, maybe. So 3 up front. Maybe I might be able to get 2 in the back. But the reason that this has got to be really stout is because the suspension links are going to, the lower ones at least, are going to go to here. And I was going to do a 4-link, but I did find a ladder bar kit for like $600. So I think I'm going to do that instead. It was recommended to me from an old timer that used to do street racing and drag racing and all that back in the day, and he always put ladder bars on his car, and he never had a problem hooking up. So we're gonna try it out. I've never done that before, but I don't see why not. If if it worked good for him, I can't see why it won't work good for me. But that's kind of the idea. I don't know how much of it I can show you. It's gonna be really hard to see. So basically, I'm just gonna be drilling holes. Once that's done, though, the fun stuff starts, and we're gonna put some more strength into that subframe. I'll show you how I'm going to do that once these are drilled out. All right, y'all, so it's been a couple of days. A lot of drilling later. So you can see on that side, I got those 3 in. This side, I only got 2 in because when I was drilling the first hole, I didn't realize it, but I was too low. And you can kind of see it right there. Started cutting into the bottom. So it's definitely way too low. Not a problem, I guess. I'm just going to get a filler piece and weld that hole back up and then move it up. I like the location. It matches that side pretty good. Still got to do the back, but I don't want to because that's miserable. So what I'm going to do instead is that I'm going to put the transmission mount back in here, make sure that where these locations fit. Now these are long, but I want to make sure to get a good weld all the way around it. And then I'll trim them short probably. But once it's in and I'm going to put a sacrificial bolt in, the way I did it is that I clamped the mount in with some clamps really, really good. And these 7/8 holes, now this goes in like so. Now that's not going to work with the bolts because it'd be too loose. So I'm going to have to make some shims or filler pieces basically made out of that 3/16 wide. Reason I did that is because I don't transferring punches and stuff works really good, but I didn't want to have the chance of it messing up too terrible, so I just went ahead and drilled through the mount, the frame rail to the other side. So that just adds more work, but really it won't be bad because I'm just going to put a filler piece in, like I said, weld it, grind it smooth, weld it, grind it smooth. It is fine. It's not going to mess up any structure. It's just going to keep it really solid. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll get back with you. All right, as you can see, here are the 2 fillers, or the spacers, I guess you could say. I put a bolt in there with those over the bolt, slid it in there till it looked good, tacked it, pulled it out, welded it. And I did the same on that side, grounded it flush. It's really important for that to be flat, so it goes back in the car real easy. And you can see here where I was not very accurate with my drilling, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to fill that with a filler piece, weld it in really good, grind it flush as if it never happened. And I have to do the same to the car like I showed earlier. I haven't done that yet because I wanted to at least make some progress. Ugh. A little harder to see, but you can see those are in there. And I'm just going to flush it up on the other side. Like so. Kind of hard to see probably, but it's over there. And I'm going to tack this side in because I got a lot of material to work with. And then that side I'm going to weld in and do it on all 5 right now. It will be 6. You kind of see that side a little better too. And get that taken care of. Then I'm calling it a video because it's been about a week doing this because drilling sucks. But I'll be back when this is all welded up. Well, fellas, I got some news. Good news is that the front 6 are basically done. Drilling the holes are the absolute worst thing that I despise it, 1000%. The back 2s, there's one on the back on each side. For some reason, I was so far off with my drilling. No matter how much dremeling, because I got a Dremel, is going to take, it's still not going to be close enough. It's like half a hole off on both of them. And so I'll show you kind of my setup that I was doing. It's kind of hard to explain. Okay, so imagine this is our frame rail. Don't worry, that's not blood. That's layout dye that I spilled. Imagine this is our frame that we are drilling, right? So this is the 7/8 bit I've been using. Once you get it through the first one, your bit's in there like that. But under the car, it's really hard to have leverage. And you can't really fit a mag drill in there really easy. So you make your own drill press. You wedge the clamp there and behind the drill, and you press it, and every few seconds or a minute or so, depends how fast you're drilling, you just do one of those, right? Just do one of those, and it presses the drill. So the problem is when you do that, this and this don't always line up. So you could be in there, instead of it being in there straight, it could be going in there like that or like that, because this drill bit is not long enough to use the front hole, the first hole I drilled, as a guide to keep me straight for the next one. So I got lucky on the first 6. I only had to do a little bit of dremeling to kind of clean it up and get the pipe through. Because like I was saying, once the hole's drilled, pipe goes in there like that, you cut it off, you tack it in place with the mount, with the transmission mount and the bolt in, and then you weld it, and then you go on the other side, weld it, grind it flush. Okay? So that's the problem I ran into on the back too. So I'm just gonna have to start over, figure something out. I might have to borrow or go buy a actual rotary tool, a die grinder, like an actual one, that high RPMs and a good bit, and I could probably get it, which I'll probably end up having to do anyway. I didn't want to. I was going to buy one yesterday, and I was like, nah, I think I can get it. Well, I should have done it, but that's kind of what we ran into. But it's just one of those things, you live and you learn. I learned this trick from a guy at work, and it works really good. I'm not saying it don't. You just got to do it a certain way. Well, guys, on that note, I'm calling this a video. You got to understand, it's basically done. I just got to do a little bit of off-camera work. It's not the end of the world. I just don't want to. I was hoping to finish it today. But it's fine. We got some bigger, better things going on. Like the 4 9-inch that I got. Yeah, this thing's going to be sick. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content. I post about once a month, and we are also, me and Isaac are working on his body swap on a 0460 Power Stroke to a 77 F-150. It's badass. You should go look at it. We got a couple videos up. I'll see you guys later.